Hey, thanks for stopping by. So, I finally saw The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, and I have to say I was blown away. This was a great movie. It was the kind of movie that makes me wonder why not every movie is like it. It's the kind of movie that makes you wish you hadn't seen it so that you can see it again, or that it had been longer so that you can keep watching it after it's done. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty was just really nice. Now, I want to clarify, I'm talking about the new one. I've still never seen the original. This movie is a remake. It was set during a fictional closure of Life magazine. The original Life magazine, of course, shut down decades ago, but they were positing a world where Life magazine closed in the mid 2010s, so basically nowadays. Did I use positing correctly there? I hope so. Anyway, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty focused on Walter Mitty. It had a lot to do with his own imagination and the real world around him. Some of the big things that you see him doing were things he was just imagining doing, but other things, and in fact most of the things, were actually happening, although possibly not in the way that we're envisioning them. And one of the things that the movie really talked about was what makes life worth living. The plot revolves around Life magazine closing, and it's closing because it was bought out by another company that wants to move to an all-web version. Now, that's one of the keys that makes us know that this is not just a badly done recreation of the closing of Life magazine, because people have smartphones, there are pushy TSA people around, there's an internet. It's definitely set here now. So I'm honestly not sure what the original movie would be about. I'm guessing the original movie would cover a lot of the same themes without necessarily being the same plot. What this plot covers is the final cover for Life magazine. Man, every time I say Life magazine, I have to double check myself because I'm worried I'm going to say Time magazine, and I don't want to do that. But Life magazine has a big cover that it needs to make. It wants to make a splash for its final cover. And Walter's job is photograph acquisitions. Well, that's not right. Negative acquisitions. People send him film. And it's an outdated way of getting the pictures in, but there are still some photographers who do it. One photographer in particular is this legendary globe-trotting adventurer who just sees the whole world and takes these photographs. This guy learns that Life magazine is closing as well, and he asks for full consideration for one of his pictures. Walter looks at the last set of photos this guy sends in. That picture's not there. No one knows what's on this picture, no one knows what the picture's about, and it's just not included. They turn the office upside down. Walter and his assistant friend guy can't find it. So most of the movie is Walter trying to track down this crazy adventure photographer guy. He goes all around the world. He tries to decrypt the itinerary written on this guy's lunch. He tries to make sense of some of the other photographs that are in there to see if he can figure out a pattern for where he is. And he has to do a lot of crazy things just to keep up with this guy. He's trying to track him down. It's like this guy has inadvertently left Walter a guidebook for seeing the world as an amazing place, and the kinds of dangerous, risky things you have to do to be willing to see it. Walter has to push himself to live life, and he's not the kind of guy who normally does this kind of thing. Now, he used to be. One of the things that runs through the plot is that he used to be a really interesting person. And that's kind of what makes this movie similar but different to the movie Stranger Than Fiction. I watched this movie with my sister, and we both thought it was like Stranger Than Fiction. But my sister pointed out that in Stranger Than Fiction, you have a guy who's pretty much boring who learns how to be interesting. And in The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, you have an interesting person who forgot that he was interesting and has to relearn. It's a very subtle difference, but the movies both cover a lot of the same themes. So, if you liked Stranger Than Fiction, I would definitely recommend seeing The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Now, I have heard some people who say that they really didn't care for The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Specifically, I know one friend of mine said that he didn't like it because there was a lot of product placement. And there was, but at the same time, I think this product placement was justifiable. One of the things that was said was that it felt kind of anachronistic to have a Papa John's in Iceland during this movie. But this isn't really set during the remake. This is set during the 2010s, the mid-20-teens, or whatever you want to call it. So having a Papa John's in Iceland during that time, it makes a little sense. I can believe it. I believe that there is, in the here and now, a Papa John's there. And there are some other brand names that you see pretty heavily. There are some websites that are mentioned pretty directly. All of these things are the kinds of brands that everyone would be familiar with in their day-to-day lives. They wouldn't necessarily be the kinds of things that everyone would think of as their first choice, though. These are spice of life brand names that are being used. Now, that doesn't necessarily make them bad things, and this movie is actually pretty neutral on the subject of whether or not corporations are good or bad. It takes, well, for instance, it is a big corporation that is buying out Life magazine and killing the staff effectively. And, I'm sorry, that was a Skype chime. But the people who go about their lives are finding different ways to live their lives. Anyway, I should see what that Skype message that I just heard was about. Thanks for stopping by. I really recommend that you see this, and I'll see you again the next time I finally do something. Take care. Later. It's good. It's root beer.